Hey, this is Chuck. So to overview some of my individual contributions to the project, I was responsible for the initial architecture of the application, the user interface layout, and the local storage services, which allow journal entries to be saved to the device file system. The storage service has been largely superseded by Coenna's work, which is using Firestore as the main storage service, but having that local storage was essential early on to prototype and develop the application. The user interface is largely the same as it was when I first created it, other than additions such as the On This Day page by Celia and the user settings page by Ariana. The calendar view, however, is largely the same and primarily my contribution. In terms of the architecture setup, I helped set up this separation of components in our lib package. So we have the models, the providers, the screens, the services, some utils, and then also like any root level Dart files like main. So that was very useful getting started early on. None of us had done any mobile application development. We were all new with Flutter, so setting up this scaffold had been really useful and helpful to the team in terms of like getting something up and running that we were able to iterate on. Also worked a lot on establishing Git workflows and resolving merge conflicts and fixing any breaking changes that occurred across the different lines of effort, as well as some stability debugging, like adding some tests to the test suite and making sure that the tests continue to pass as changes were made to code files, resolving bugs and Flutterfire config issues. As far as highlights of the work, so here is the calendar view page, which is also sort of the home page after the user signs in. I'm signed into a user that is stored in our Flutterfire database that Coenna set up. We've also got the settings page working. This is Ariana's work, and then the On This Day page, which is Celia's work. And we can see that this has a calendar component that I used the table calendar Flutter package to create, which made it actually relatively straightforward and simple. And then this page also, as you saw, sets up routes to the user settings page, to the On This Day page, and from here you can also see recent entries. And if I click an existing entry, it pulls that up. If I click an entry that doesn't exist yet, it allows me to create an entry for that day. And then it highlights entries that exist with the green dot, the selected day with this dark blue circle, and then the current day with this sort of light gray circle. And so we can see that the current day is March 11th as of this recording. So if we go to the On This Day feature, the March 11th is what comes up. So in terms of reflection, this was my first time doing any mobile application development. So there was definitely a learning process in terms of figuring out the workflow, the tooling, and the languages. The Git workflow on the team and coordination of code changes was also a challenge, but we made significant improvements to that after we had kind of had some discussions and agreed on some useful workflows to follow. Things I would do differently moving forward would be allowing myself to work on features and enhancements as they sort of came to mind, even when they didn't fit the initial development plan or our sprint planning. I did a lot of work upfront, especially like early this term and last term, such as laying out some of the scaffolds that I had already discussed. And so a lot of features were largely complete or like 80% complete, and sometimes it was difficult to find things to do that fit into the minimalist development plan. In terms of what I'm most proud of, the user interface and the architecture of the initial application were definitely very useful and successful, and I think they really helped the team to have sort of an accelerated development path. And so far, pretty minimal changes have been made to the user interface, so I think we kind of got off on a pretty good foot with something that's aesthetically pleasing, pretty consistent, and also pretty minimal. And then also I'm happy with the bug fixes and the problem solving that I was able to bring to the table for the team, such as fixing some Flutterfire issues. Whenever teammates were having trouble with build setup, I was able to kind of step in and come to some solutions there. So those are my contributions this term.